Hi. Um, Yesterday I made my first video. It was quite a long one with a lot of, I think, a lot of detail. Um, at the moment, I'm still not. The jury isn't in yet. Whether I'm an ENTP or an INTP. I'm. Somebody suggested basically. Uh, what was the term? A well balanced or a healthy INTP. Referring to the use of TI, I think, is very omnipresent. Uh, but I'm still not quite sure. So don't take this as per, per se as being an ENTP or an INTP or something else. This view on stress, I wrote it down because I always forget stuff. Stress and emotion. Basically, why I wanted to talk about that was I don't know if anybody, if you read the book, Was That Really Me, from Naomi something something, and it talks about how different types um, react when under the influence of their inferior function. For an INTP, that would be FE, which is also the one causing. There are two ways describing it: explosive anger or hurt tearfulness, which is in my case quite accurate. So if I were to look at that, it's something that could help me in confirming I'm actually an INTP. On the other hand, as always, there there's a lot more to it. I think SI is playing a big part in it as well, which, if I'm not mistaken, is the inferior function of the ENTP. Because, well, it's not only the emotion, but it's also all the memories and everything historically related to it that's driving it. So basically, at the moment, I'm trying to figure out what exactly is being meant by that, being in the grip of your inferior function. Does she mean whether the inferior function is the catalysator, or whether the inferior function is really the function which is basically your dominant function at that moment, but being a completely underdeveloped function is wreaking absolute havoc on your life. I'm still not quite sure, so I'm trying to figure it out. If somebody can tell me, come on, come at me, bro. No, okay, so I wanted to give a very specific example because I just recently experienced let's call it a semi meltdown. I'm getting married in soon. I think a month, something like that. The the stress is kind of piling up, but to be honest, it can be because I'm actually basically let's just refer to me as an NTP at the moment. It's a bit easier than continuous to say INTP, ENTP. It's probably because I'm an NTP and I kind of have the thing. Oh, I'm feeling something. Let's put it in the box. Oh, I'm feeling. Let's put it there. Oh, an emotion. I can't use you at the moment. Get over there, in a corner with the rest. No. Um, so that's one of the reasons, probably. The other reason, but that's not the only thing, because everybody was talking. It should be getting stressful. Not really. I mean, I'm a big fat P. I thrive on deadlines. I never get so much done as when there's a ticking clock above my head. I need that to become a bit motivated. I don't mean become motivated, but to yeah, just to get a kick in butt, to to come into action. So it's something that it's not really something that stresses me out. If anything, it's something that motivates me. So that was not really what was the problem. So yesterday, or was it the day before? I don't remember. Um, I went for a dress fitting, my first dress fitting of a very, if I say so myself, awesome dress, because I couldn't find anything that resembled my taste, being boho, chic, slash hippie, slash I want to be comfortable and not walk around like a fucking clock all day, something like that. Um, they didn't have that in the store, so I decided to have it made. And it was cheaper as well, so ta-da, awesome. And I went for the fitting, but I had taken a day off, and I'm just going to tell the whole story. Probably I will divert into tangents, but look, it's important to tell the whole thing because it's really a build-up of a whole lot of blah. I asked my boyfriend to pick up shoes. It was necessary because apparently you need shoes to go dress fitting. It's not really logical, but hey, whatever. It has to do with the height and stuff like that. And I asked him, hey, on the way back, can you stop at the place to get a coffee? And it's a Belgian word, a koffiekoek. It's like a French pastry. It's food. Actually, it's basically more something like candy, but we eat it as food. But it's not really healthy, but it's very yummy. Think of a donut, but less disgusting and more refined. It's a croissant. Tu vois? You can see a croissant with the chocolate thingamabobs inside. I'm digressing. He forgot his phone, so I was here. I took everything. Everything was together, and I was basically waiting at the door, and waiting, and waiting. Now, I have no issue with deadlines, but we had an appointment at a certain hour, and last time we were there, we were a couple of minutes late, and they were already almost giving away our appointment. So that was something that couldn't happen this time. So voila, I was getting completely stressed out. At a certain moment he arrives, I throw everything in the car, and I'm like, "What took you so long?" Yeah, there was traffic on the way to get the shoes. Okay, I can get that. I mean, when you're the in traffic, you can't really get out of it. At least not the way the route he was following. I know that. And I said, okay, wow, so much traffic, yes. And afterwards, I couldn't find a place to park, and he couldn't find a place to park at the coffee shop, and there were people queuing up, even further than outside. And of course, then my reaction, of course, I mean, for basically everybody who's rational, he's going to say, so then why did you go inside? Because you asked the coffee? Yes, but you knew even before you went in that you were going to be late here, and that was without even taking into account that you had to queue from outside and wait for your order. It's just, for me, it's incomprehensible, because I said, look, this is the goal of the day, and the shoes is something that needed to be done. If it wasn't done, look, I could have fudged it. The coffee, it's a pity. I would have been thirsty and a bit hungry, but it's all, I don't know, optional. With the it, but for him it was, he had his list in his head. I need to go get the shoes. I need to go get the croissant, something like a croissant. And then I need to pick her up, and we need to go see the dress. It's like for him it was a static list. For me, I couldn't understand why he would choose to go about it that way. But hey, so luckily we had a bit of luck with the traffic, so we were there. I think maybe 5 minutes late. It wasn't a problem. We called ahead of that. But stress point number one, because I was aggravated, but after I was aggravated, but then it was over, so it was over for me. But he was feeling stupid, or I don't know. He afterwards he understood that it was not a good idea to do that, but he was just trying to do something nice, and I felt that he was feeling guilty and being obviously having FE somewhere in my stack of functions. I pick up on that, and maybe not super consciously, but it's sort of it seeps through. It's like when you squeeze in a sponge, you put it under water and you let it go really, really, really slowly. It's a bit like that. Okay, then when we were coming back, it's a long drive. For people in America, probably not a long drive. It's like one, it's an hour and a half. But I don't really like cars. I don't like being in a car. I've been in 2 accidents, and I just don't like it. I get nauseous. Ugh, it's awful. So basically, when we get to my mother's home to drop her off, I was completely sick. So I said, "Look, I have to go inside. I have to lay down and just leave me alone for a second." My brother was there, who was sort of in a, let's just call it, semi-poisonous relationship with the mother of his child, um, and she was apparently she made some threats about the custody and stuff like that. So he again was very, very emotional, understandably so. Uh, um, so with all my rationality, I tried to help and say, let's take emotion out of the equation, which was, well, for him at that moment impossible. He saw the merit of my point, but I can get that. I understand that at that moment that wasn't really a viable option for him. But then again, I mean, being the emotional sponge that I am, it seeped through a bit more, a bit more. And then afterwards, we went with my mother, future to be mother-in-law, and she was talking about flowers. That I need to choose flowers because she's making these flower pieces for the tables. It's it's I don't really care about it. I mean, I think it's really cool that she wants to do that and she's helping us, and she's even paying for them. I think, I don't know. I have no idea. That's how little I care. It's awful, I know, but she thinks it's important to have flowers there. So I said, okay, flowers it is. Voila, do your thing. And she was talking to me about it, and she said, yes, but you really have to come with me to the store because we need to pick flowers. And I was like, look, I have a month until I get married. All my weekends are filled up. I have It'll only take half an hour. That's not true. It never takes half an hour. It's at least 1 hour. And it, it seemed like a really, really pointless thing to do for me. I said, you know what? Um, I will just look it up on the internet when the flowers, because to be true, I don't really care about the flower pieces, but I do care a bit about the flowers. I'm like, okay, if there are going to be flowers, there are going to be wild flowers because I want something a bit boho, a bit just like somebody tore it off a field. Hey, look at this. Hey, a bouquet, nice. I like that. It's my style. So hey, a bit nonchalant. Um, so okay, I tried to explain that. She didn't. It, she didn't really get it. I sent her the email I made for the. I'm having my bouquet made in silk flowers because I think, yeah, I mean, just a bouquet of real flowers. Okay, it's nice and all that, but here, dead flowers. Thanks. Yay. I mean, still bouquet, okay, it costs a bit more, but it's beautiful, and it can stay in my home without dying, like all the other plants. So, voila. Um, so I thought, hey, I will send you this mail because it's a mail I have perfected with the actual. It's a mail with all the. Sorry, it's a very anti thing. Um, in order to achieve a proper mail to explain to all the florists what I wanted, I studied and I assembled, I gathered a lot of bouquets, of pictures of bouquets with wildflowers. And I looked at them to see, all right, how do I like the color ratio? How do I like the ratio of big flower versus tiny flowers and all that? So I I assessed all that and I made sort of a synthesis or whatever, and I sent an email with two of the pictures that were most closely resembling what I kind of wanted, and then a list of colors, being green being at the top, being the color they needed to use most, and red at the bottom, the color they needed to use less. And then a couple of colors in between, and next to every color there was an example or a couple of examples of the type of flower and also the the size plus minus of the flower. It, for the rest, they could choose what to do with it, but it was just for me, it needed to have this specific nonchalance. I didn't want the tropical flowers or the very pompous or stuff like that. It doesn't really appeal to me. So I thought, hey, look at this perfectly well drafted email. I spent weeks slaving about to achieve this perfect information. Voila, here you go. This should be enough. No, 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 this is not good. You have to come with me. Then I said, look, no, I will look it up. I will tell you which flowers are in bloom at that moment. I will tell you my preference, and then you can choose from that big pile of flowers or examples I sent you, whatever you want, whatever you think is going to be best in the or will stay pretty the longest in the flower pieces, because wildflowers have a tendency to go fluid. And at that moment she said something, and it's probably no, it's not probably, it's due to the fact that I was tired and I already had these emotional impressions from everybody around me all the entire day that I was sucking in, and that at that moment it was just a straw for me. She said, you can't really have me believe that you prefer doing this way, or that you really think that this is a better way of doing that. So basically, at that moment, I know it's not what she meant. I'm perfectly aware that's not what she meant with that message, but I'm only human. I have FE, so when extremely tired and after a whole day of sucking in other dramatic feelings of everybody like a sponge, I just said it because for me it felt like, hey, why? Maybe just let me invalidate your entire decision process, because that's what it is. It's the way I take my decisions. I do research, I gather research, I synthesize, I mull about it, and I take decisions. And in one in one sentence, she basically invalidated that. Okay, this was only particular to the flowers, but for me at that moment, because there were emotions, and I can't. It's not my forte. Um, that was. It really wasn't a nice feeling. And then I said to her, look, these are flowers. I have seen these flowers. I have already smelt these flowers. A buttercup is exactly the same as it was 10 years ago. It, I do not see the need to go in that store and touch and smell the same flowers. I already know. This is not news to me. Why do you want me to do this? Afterwards, when the emotions for me toned down a bit, when I was just alone and I got a chance to be not around people, because I was the entire day also around people. I mean, the entire day. And when I'm at work, I'm around people as well, but it's different because they don't continuously ask personal interaction from me. They're just there, but uh, and afterwards I started thinking, okay, maybe, maybe for her it didn't only have to do with the flowers, but it had also to do with being wanting to have the feeling that I wanted to partake in the piece, in the thing she was doing for our wedding, something like that. I don't know. It's a very yeah, and also on the ride back, my mom was telling me that she and some family members were kind of disappointed that they weren't invited. Uh, Again, I was stifled because I was like, why do you guys care? I mean, come on, is it this important? I already invited more people than I actually would have preferred to, because of social convention and stuff like that. But it's, I don't know, apparently they feel left out. And it's not that I cannot understand. I am aware that that there are people having these feelings. Sometimes even I have these feelings, but it's I didn't. I still don't. I don't understand what the fuss was about. Apparently it really was a thing, and I felt completely oblivious to it because I came in Dutch we say uit de lucht gevallen. I came falling from the sky. What? Why is everybody so upset about this? Ah, that's one of the joyous days of being or of having FE somewhere in your inferior or tertiary functions. Like it was hard, especially when on the way home from my mother-in-law. I kind of cracked to my hubby because, well, yeah, uh, it's very I think maybe for most people, for all people, I don't know, but especially for me anyway, there are very few people I will show my emotion to. I mean, alright, you will see that if it's really if it's running really high, you might see it, but not because I want you to see it, but because it's just I'm cooking over inside. But most of the time, I'm going to go outside. I'm going to hide myself behind my phone, something like that, just until I can dial it down a bit. But then with him, I kind of let it out a bit, um, not willingly because the kids were in the car, so that was not ideal. But it was just the whole, not the day, but it's also the days before and all the everybody has these expectations, and how can you not care about that more? Because I don't. I'm sorry. It's there are I have this whole wedding, and there are like these pieces that I have chosen to care about. If that's not that I don't care about the rest, but there are some pieces that I have chosen to care a great deal about, and the rest is okay. It's happening. We paid for it. It should be okay. We sort of it should be okay, and okay is good enough for me. In for example, all right, the venue. It's not super beautiful. It's not ugly. It's okay. It's practical. it's nice. I mean, it's not fancy, but it's nice. There's nothing wrong with it. So for me, that part was handled. I didn't even think about flowers or decoration or all of that because it's so, I don't know. Okay, let's have green napkins. Whoop-de-doo. I Then I prefer to put a little bit of effort in something that's a bit more personal, you know. For example, the book that people are going to be signing stuff in. Hey, I was at your wedding. Ta-da! One thing I'm kind of a bit excited about. For the gamers out there, we want to make some sort of achievement cards. So you can say, for example, uh, uh, I have danced on 3 super cheesy folky wedding songs. All right, check. I have tasted every beer they have available. Check. Something like that. We're still working on it. Um, but yeah, that's when in stress. That's basically how I handle it. Or becoming very emotional, tearful. Not I don't go crying hysterically like a I don't know. You know the typical view of somebody with mascara and stuff like that. I barely wear makeup, so it wouldn't even work with me. But I mean, or go heaving and stuff like that. I would probably maybe do that when somebody dies, or something really bad happens to somebody I love. But in cases like this, I think it's a very overthrown reaction. But I was emotional. I mean, and I was tired. Those two together, it's not a good combo. Or my other thing is I get angry as fuck, and I mean angry. And at that moment, I'm going to, and all my TITESI is going to rain down on you, and it's not pretty. I mean, my my poor boyfriend, he experienced that a couple of times. It's it's not pretty because you're super angry, but even though it's taking dominance of you, the FE, you're you're still an INTP, you're still an NTP, so you still have a lot of SI, so you have a lot of recall and you have a lot of logic, and those two combined with being furious, it's if you're not careful, it can really destroy relationships. It's something I've experienced when I was younger. I had I really sort of blew up a bridge like that after me. I don't know. I'm just curious. I'm very sorry. It's getting kind of late. I'm curious to hear or read what some of you might think about that. How, if you are an NTP, how you experience that. If it's a bit the same. If you think um, I'm experiencing something really different than you. I'm just curious if anybody ever sees this. But hey, let's give it a try.